Going to be defining circle geometry as the branch of geometry that deals with the property of circle, that deals with the relationship in circles and all of that. So let's start off by defining a circle. So let's say you decide on a plane to take a fixed point, and from that fixed point you try to maintain all the possible distance, equal distance this time around, from this fixed point, such that all the lines that I'm trying to draw there are equal in length, as many as possible. In fact, all of them, if it is possible for you to draw that. And then you decide to combine all of this points together. Then what you have right there is a circle. So in essence, we can define the circle as the set of all points, right, in a plane that are equal distance from a fixed point, which is called the center, of course. So if we have more like a circle, this point right here is referred to as a center. So when you keep taking the distance all around this fixed point, you have a circle. Now, let's start by defining some key concepts. I'm going to start by defining the radius. Now, what is the radius of a circle? When you take the distance from the center of a circle to any point on the circle, you have the radius. So the radius can go in any direction. When you draw this way, it is still the radius. When you draw it this way, you still have the radius. When you draw it that way, you have the radius. Like that, you have the radius. Remember that all of the lines that I've drawn representing the radius are equal in length. Great. So the next thing I'm going to define is the diameter. So diameter is a line that divides a circle into two equal parts. I'm going to define it that way. So when you have a line that divides the circle into two equal parts, we refer to such a line as the diameter. Or we can say that a diameter is a line passing through the center of a circle connecting two points on a circle. We can also define it that way. Now, there is a relationship between the diameter and the radius. If you look at the definition that I gave for a radius here, I said that radius is the line from the center of a circle to the point on the circle. You would notice that we have two of them right here. We have one moving in this direction. This is one. And then we have the other moving in this direction, which is the second one. So we have radius and then we have radius. So when you combine the two radii together, you have the diameter. So we can say diameter is 2 radii. Right. Now the next thing I'm going to define is the chord of a circle. Now talking of a chord is a line that connects two points on a circle. So let's pick two random points, right? So this is the center. So I decide to pick a point right here, which is on a circle. Then I pick another point which is on a circle. By the time I connect these 2 points together, what I am having right here is a chord. So if I call this B and I call this A, B is a chord. Again, your chord can be in any direction, right? So if I mark another point here, call C, if I connect B and C together, I still have a chord. If I connect A and C together, I still have a chord as well. So based on the diagram that you have here, we have 3 chords already: AB, AC, and BC. So that is a chord. The next thing I'm going to define is the circumference. The circumference. So if I am to define a circumference, I'm going to be defining the circumference in line with some other plane shapes that we have. For instance, if you are trying to find the length, the total length that makes up a rectangle. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. So when you add all of this together, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, those lengths gives the perimeter of this rectangle. But in a circle, we don't usually use perimeter. though you can define it as perimeter, but we don't usually use perimeter to state what how wide a circle is, basically. Okay, so if I have a circle and we decide to pivot a point right here, and then we try to measure along this line that makes up the circle all the way around the circle, right? What we have right there is the circumference of the circle. So it's the total distance around the circle, basically. So there is a formula for that, which is 2 pi r or pi d, which we are going to be getting into in a bit. Next thing I'm going to define is the segment of a circle. The segment of a circle is obtained when you have a chord cutting a portion of a circle. So right here we have a chord, okay, and we call this let's call this A and let's call this B. So this line has divided the circle into 2 portions. We have one portion right here, and then we have another portion on the other side, which I'm going to leave unshaded. This portion is referred to as the segment of a circle, and this other portion as well is referred to as a segment. But of course, you can see that one segment is bigger than the other, right? So we refer to the smaller one as the minor, and they refer to the bigger one as the major. So we have the major segment and then we have the minor segment. Now, how do you define a segment? We can define a segment as an area of a circle that is being cut off by a chord. Okay, we're going to stick with that definition for now. Okay, but as we proceed, we can also define a segment as an area bounded by this line. You can see there's a line, and then we have a curve. This curve is referred to as an arc. Now, what is an arc? So an arc basically is a portion of a circle taken from the circumference. We know that this is a circle, and then somehow you feel that you need to cut a portion of the circle right off, something like this, right? Okay, what you have right here is an arc. Here is an arc, and the other one as well is an arc. So it's a portion from the circumference of a circle, if you have to define that. Okay, again, there is a relationship between the chord and the diameter, right? We said that a chord is a line that connects 2 points on the circumference, such that AB is a chord, BC as well right here is a chord, then AC is a chord. Now, this chord, while it connects 2 points on the circumference of a circle or on the circle, it can pass through the center in certain cases. That is, if it goes through this part, okay, you have 2 points on the circumference right here, and then at the same time it is passing through the center of a circle. This is a case where the chord becomes the diameter. Okay, so we can simply refer to diameter as the longest chord you can have on a circle. So let me just put that down. Diameter is the longest chord in a circle.